I'm just going to harvest my pumpkins and get them ready for storage. Hi everyone, it's Holly. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be harvesting my pumpkins from my front yard driveway patch because they're all ready to go. So the ones I have growing at the moment are the butternut pumpkin or squash, and the stems have hardened off and gone brown. So the vines are starting to die off, the stems are going brown, and the pumpkins are like a light brown colour, whereas before they were green. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut the stem as far up as you can and cut off those. So you want to try and leave as much of the stem on as you can so that you don't damage any of the actual pumpkin and risk getting any bacteria in there, otherwise it won't last and it won't preserve well. Once we've harvested the pumpkin, I'm going to give them a good clean to get any of the dirt off and wipe off any of the bacteria so that these can go into storage and they will last a lot longer without any bacteria being able to get into the pumpkin. Okay, so these ones are pretty clean. I have brushed off most of the dirt. If they were a lot dirtier, then I would give them a rinse off with a hose first. But these ones are pretty clean. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to mix up some water and some apple cider vinegar. You could just use normal vinegar, and probably at a ratio of 1:1 or even 1:2. 1 part vinegar, 2 parts water, and that will help get rid of any of the bacteria that are on the pumpkin and get them nice and clean. I'm just going to use a clean cloth and just give them a good wipe down and wipe off any of the dirt that is on there. See, there's a few variations in colour in these ones. That's due to the different stages of curing. So some of these are a little bit older than the others. These like darker brown ones are a lot more ripe and have been cured in the sun on the vine, whereas this one is a little bit younger and it's still got a little bit of green running through it. So what I need to do after I have wiped these down, got rid of all the dirt, dried them off, and then I'm going to put them somewhere warm and dry with diffuse sunlight, not direct sunlight, so that they can finish curing for about 1 to 2 weeks. These ones are quite cured already, but I will probably leave them 1 to 2 weeks, and that will allow the stem to really harden off, the outsides to harden off, and they'll keep a lot longer in the pantry. So this year in my pumpkin patch I grew 18 pumpkins, and that was a mix of these butternut pumpkin slash squash and Lakota variety, which was a bright orange pumpkin. Next season I'll definitely try and grow some bigger pumpkins, like maybe the Kent or the Jack. And I always like trying something new, so I'll probably try some random new pumpkin that I've never grown before. But because I've been growing butternut for years now, they always pop up in my compost. So I don't even think I planted this vine. I may have planted like one, and then heaps more just popped up in my compost. So I pretty much just will always have these growing from now on, which I'm not complaining about. This little guy. So what I found with growing these is that they like a lot of compost really early on in that growing stage, like when you first plant them. Give them a good feed of compost and composted manure, because once they start to grow, they grow pretty quickly. They grow pretty quickly when they are just starting out and green, and then they'll sort of like, once they start turning a little bit brown, will stop growing. And depending on how many pumpkins are on the vine, will probably determine how big they're going to be, because if the vine is feeding a heap of pumpkins, they're not all going to be huge. So this one was on a vine that already had a heap of pumpkins on it, so I think he just didn't get quite as much nutrients. Alright, so these are nice and clean, and I'm going to go pop them somewhere dry with diffuse sunlight to cure for the next couple of weeks. So somewhere like a veranda, if you've got undercover area, you want to keep them nice and dry. Maybe some, like on some timber shelving outside in an undercover area, a nice warm sunny spot. Okay, so this is where I'm going to let these pumpkins dry out and cure. This is our undercover bar area. So that is like cafe blinds. So it'll be nice and dry, and it'll get plenty of diffuse sunlight here. So storing your pumpkins really depends on where you live and your climate, because you don't want to have them anywhere where it's humid. So nice and dry, dark spot. Excuse the dog. Our house stays pretty even. It's not too hot, not too cold, not damp or anything like that. So I could just put them up on any sort of shelving away from the sunlight, and they'll be fine. I know people store them outside in the verandas and things like that, or in some like timber shelving, like cupboards. But I keep mine in the pantry. So I have this drawer here. It is breathable, and I don't know, it's worked so well. It's worked well so far. So these are the ones that I picked at the very start of the year, and I have been using them. I will definitely run out of space because I don't want them to be all touching. I want them to have lots of space and air around them. So I might get another drawer for here and put them here. But these are just, our pantry is actually IKEA wardrobes. So those are actually wardrobes, which is a really cost-effective way to do a pantry, and it also meant that we could customize the shelving to whatever we wanted. Drawers and these baskets. This could be another place that I start to store my pumpkins. This is just an old buffet that we no longer were using, and so we've put it outside, and I keep a lot of my tools and, you know, empty egg cartons and things like that in here. So yeah, this would be another great way to store pumpkins because it's dark, dry, and they do really well on timber. You also want to make sure that, depending on where you are, and you also want to make sure that you have a spot where rodents like rats and mice can't get to them. Depends where you are and if you have a problem with that. I don't tend to have much of a problem with that, but I know they are around, so something like this where they can't get in would be a good idea. I love growing pumpkins. Pumpkins were something that I really wanted to grow a lot more of because they are a great staple to have in the pantry. You can use them standalone to make a dish like pumpkin soup, or roasted pumpkin for salads and sides and things like that. Pumpkin scones, pumpkin pancakes. What else can you make? Pumpkin on pizza is really good, and it was just a really great way so that I can bulk up my pantry to support all the other things that I'm growing and be able to make meals with the food that I'm growing. So my pumpkin patch this year was just a spot that I made on my driveway, put a whole bunch of compost down, mulched it, put the pumpkins in, and yeah, I ended up growing 18 pumpkins, like I think 21 kilos in total, and we're definitely growing a lot more pumpkins next year because I think they're a really good base crop to have growing in your garden, and they're delicious. Super versatile, really easy to cook with, and store really well and really easy. You don't really have to do much, you just give them a clean and put them somewhere dry, and you have pumpkins that you can eat for the rest of the year. Certain varieties will last longer than others. Some will last maybe only 3 months, some will last a lot longer. I'm sort of doing trial and error with mine. So far I've found I'm at 6 months with my first lot and they're still looking really good. I just check them, roll them over and make sure there's no little spots that are starting to break down. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, leave me a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you.